Wouldn't you know it? 2-0 forward, 3-1 back for the Wanderers. It is ATBX episode, what are we, 10, 12 for the season. So we've done 12 episodes. And Steve, you alerted us that a couple of fans were actually asking if we were okay. There was no podcast last week. That's my fault. I'll put my hand up to that.
You decided to watch a shit movie instead.
Well, in hindsight, yes. But before that, I didn't know it was going to be a shit movie in retrospect. So I only found out after. But based on the conversations we had, one person couldn't make it, someone else couldn't make it. And I misread or misinterpreted timings. And I still made it back in time for a podcast, but some others were unavailable, such as the lovely Tats, who's to your left on screen. Good evening to you, Tats.
Hi, Nick. My favorite part of last week was me and Josh private messaging saying, hey, I think he might not be okay. He's not replying. He hasn't read messages for a couple of hours. And we dead set thought that the floods had actually affected you. And we're like, man, we hope Nick's okay. Next minute, Nick's like, oh, I'm at the movies. I'm like, oh, geez.
Right. In the cinemas, there's no reception whatsoever. So I was out for about a couple of hours, non-existent to the world. It was great. I escaped for 2 hours and then I was brought back to reality and probably wished I stayed within the reality because Uncharted was not what I expected. Coming from a video game adaptation to film, but we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the Wanderers. Because whilst we can all enjoy a nice derby win, 2-0 at home, Sydney FC, it's always a good fun time, Steve. I was unable to attend. I was working there, but what was it like overall atmosphere-wise? I'll ask you first, Steve, and then I'll get a Tats because obviously you're pitch side, so you've got a different feel as to what Corica's harping on about, what Ruden's saying to his players and things like that. So, Steve, what was it like from the stands for this derby?
It was harking back a few years. I was pleasantly surprised with the attendance. I thought it would be less, but then I wasn't surprised that there was more, if that makes sense, because everyone's locked in with floods and this sort of stuff. It's the first day that we could come out and play, and so there was a classic derby crowd of all these people you never see on a Sunday night against Wellington, but they were show up against Sydney FC on a Saturday night. So it was like that. And the RBB were in full force and in full voice. So it was pretty good in that sense. We were pumped for it. And I think the players were pumped for it too. And then the results showed for it. It was pretty good. Brought the whole family along and everything. And good luck charm, that's for sure.
Good luck, charm. Tats, what was it like pitch side? Because you're privy to all the good stuff that happens that we don't get to we don't really get to see. We don't really get to hear it either. So anything that you noticed that was different for this game in particular? Was Ruden giving different instructions? Were the players maybe a little bit more responsive to what was happening on the pitch as opposed to other days? Was Corica being a little sook? Like, what's the go?
No, funnily enough, the one thing that was different was a relatively quiet Corica, actually. I realized that like halfway through the game. I was like, oh, I haven't heard him harp up or like pipe up too much. The other thing is what I could feel from the sidelines and what I felt after full-time whistle is that like everybody at the club felt we needed this win, not just like a derby win, but just felt like we needed a win because it really felt like a huge sigh of relief from everybody around. And do you know who grabbed me and gave me the biggest, like sturdiest, you're about to break my bones hug was JT, because he came up, he's like, how good is this? Like he proper was happy. And it just felt like a win was needed, not a derby win, but just a win, just because we've had such a shit go of it the last few weeks. And with the news of the leaving and people not being happy with the re-signing and stuff like that. On top of that, I actually brought some, I got tickets for some colleagues of mine, a few of them who'd never been to a Wanderers game, and then my roommate who used to come to Wanderers games. And she came, she was like, man, I really missed it. Hey, this really felt like old days. You know what I mean? So it was like nice to hear that. And then my cousin, who's like not a football fan, but a true Westie, wanted to fight because they were more like around on the Cove side. And she's like, they're being so rude. Oh my God. Someone should have a word with them. I'm like, you don't want to be closer to the RBB side because you don't want to hear what they're having to say. And my workmate, who's like just like really super white Anglo, never been west of like Randwick, was like, oh, they're being so mean to the players. Why are they booing when a beanie got called on? She's like, oh no, that's so mean. Why are they bullying? And I'm like, well, because he used to play for them. So she's like, that's not nice. I'm like, oh, you know nothing about football.
So
but,
what is when you threw bottles at Redmayne?
oh,
he must be thirsty.
she saw them throw bottles at Adama when they were like on the other end, and she thought that was really, really ridiculous. I'm like, yeah, it is. Damn those Cove boys, who does that? But it was, I think it was a testament to the crowd and the atmosphere, is that non-football fans were there saying how fantastic it was. And like an older football fan who was like, man, I really missed it. This was really, really a really good time. So, I mean, that's about all the good news.
In other news,
Well,
water is
good
wet.
news.
So
water is wet. 100% water is wet. Water was definitely wet. Don't tell me about that.
Yeah, no, bad analogy. But the point is, you've got people that have never gone to a football match. You have this atmosphere, which is we've been talking about for 10 years on this pod, and previous, 10 years before that, in other A-League pods. Shit. That's the whole point of football, and that's the differentiator between us and other sports. But they did everything they did to kill it, and then we're trying to come back. It's never going to be back to where it was. It's going to take a very long time to get back to where it was, and it's really disappointing, because we see games like that, and we think, oh, that's why we're here. And then you come a week later, and it's like 5,000 people, and it was like,
you're doing John Travolta Pulp Fiction meme, like turning around, like, where is everyone? Like, what's going on here? You're here last week, but that's the thing. We've always said that about these derby folk. It's like, yeah, you're here this week, but are you going to come next week? Are you going to travel to Gosford? You're going to be here on a Sunday afternoon. Sorry, when we're playing, like you said, Wellington at like 5 p.m. You're going to come for these games? No, they only come for the derby because it's the derby, and then they want to go chest out, huff and puff. It's like, it's nice. We do appreciate that. Don't get me wrong. We all support the same team, but let's be a little bit more consistent, shall we, when it comes to when you get a 2-0 derby win, everyone's pumped, everyone's fired up. Players are doing their bit on the pitch, the opposition. Actually, let's go on to that. Speaking of the opposition, Sydney FC, I'm just reading stats here. If these are as accurate as they can be, 1 shot on target the whole night for Sydney FC.
That was probably their worst performance against us.
I could not believe
very
it,
long
man.
time. And I think a lot of them were agree with that. Like, a lot of Sydney fans were saying that more than we were. They're saying this is terrible. Like, what the hell is this? And like, we were good, but they were bad. Like, they didn't produce much.
I'm looking 6 shots, 1 on target. That was it. Like, nothing really. And apart from that, there was maybe 1 or 2 moments that I saw in the mini match after. Some flashes. Obviously, they had that late penalty call as well, which, truth be told, when it finished 2-0, I didn't actually look at what happened. I didn't find out 2 hours later once I got home. And then I saw what happened. I'm like, oh, how was this not given as a penalty? And I looked at it, I'm just like, okay, well, they called it back for a free kick. I'm like, okay, fair enough. Because you're thinking to yourself,
straight away, Nick. He didn't even go and look at it. Kurt Eames did, or Sean Evans, sorry, the week before, taking 5 minutes to decide this in the box when it was clearly out. This one, he heard it, and obviously this is what happens all the time with A-League and the VAR, right? They have a bad decision 1 week, and they'll do everything they can to make sure that doesn't happen the week after. So, like the whole graph about Sydney FC taking 20 fouls to get a yellow card, then the week after they got like 5 yellow cards and all this sort of stuff, just to
straight off the bat
to course correct the stats. So it was actually quite pleasing that they listened to VAR and it straight up said outside the box. But obviously at the time on the ground, we all thought, oh, here it is. Here's a gift to make us, lose our nails, biting our nails for the last 5 minutes, because we just thought, even at 80th minute after we scored, and 80th, if they scored within the last 10 minutes, I was like, I'm going to end up drawing this, because like classic, we always like concede in the last 5 minutes. So I'm glad we held on, and I think that penalty being denied, that was pretty much solved it for us. We could have scored 4 or 5 or 6 goals in that game. We had so many chances.
Well, I was just about to go on towards the players on the pitch who were there, because Nadjarine ultimately gets the penalty. Tats, obviously, you're there pitch side when Turner's calling, when he scores goals and things like that. You're next to the VAR. Do you overhear anything that's being said, even though they didn't go directly to the VAR? Can you still hear the fourth official discussing things with the on-field ref?
Usually I can. At a match like a derby, I can't, just because there's just a lot of like noise going around. So I couldn't actually hear much of it. But what I wanted to add is that, like, watching that game, they didn't look threatening at all. And the only thing that had me on edge is the history of us getting calls called against us, to be honest. So when that penalty was given, I was like, oh, I mean, I was surprised that it was given, just because, we've been burnt enough times against Sydney FC not to get the calls go our way. But no, it was like that. Usually I can, but that match, it was great great atmosphere, lots of loud noise, but I couldn't hear a thing on the side of the pitch.
Lots of loud noises. So there was the starting 11 there. Petrados at the point. That's an interesting one for me, Steve. Was Petrados actually playing that striker role and Hammond playing behind him? Because Petrados, for all we've seen, is still looks lost on the pitch, if I'm completely honest, half the time. Like,
I think the front
we
four
still don't
just
know what he's exactly doing. We still don't know what he's exactly doing on the pitch.
Yeah, I know. He's getting to the starting lineup, so obviously he's doing something at training to get ahead of, like, Troisi has been missing for 2 weeks now. I don't know if he's injured or anything. I haven't heard anything. Not that they tell us, but I think Hammond and Petrados probably swapped a lot. But definitely Agawa and Najrin were more on the wings. Agawa was still bombing down the wing, cutting back, losing the ball. And Najrin was getting to the box. He got into good positions. He should have scored a couple goals, Najrin, to be honest. He was unlucky. And I say unlucky now. At the time, I was screaming my head off, saying he's wasting so many chances and all this sort of stuff. But if you keep getting to those good positions, eventually it should fall for you. Hamed's is enigma in our side. I'm gonna say it every single week. When was the last time he scored an open play? Like, everything he's scoring is off pens, and that article leading up to the derby was hilarious. It was almost like a bossy article saying, "I'm ready to fire for the team." It's like, mate.
Oh, that's right. So, yeah, where are you? Where you been, brother? Where are you?
So if you start now, it might be handy. I still don't think we're using the right system for him. I don't know what that is, what that answer is, but he just seems lost. He just seems not part of the attack, or not there when he should be there. I don't know. He just falls over all the time. You can take a penalty. I give him that much, but we need more from our strikers. We're not getting goals from the field. It's like,
how did they have him playing in Wellington?
You're asking. I don't know. You're the Knicks.
You're the Kiwi.
Man, I force myself to watch Wanderers games when I don't have to work. When I do this shit, I watch Knicks
I don't want to do this. Leave me alone.
Man, our one main producer, she does all the floor managers stuff for Wanderers and Knicks. So you can imagine how much of a good time she's having just to go to all the Knicks home games in Wollongong. So she's having a good time. I noticed after you guys brought up the last couple of weeks, my frustration with Ogawa, that game really started to peak as well. And all of a sudden I was parroting what you were saying, Stephen. I was like sitting with like my friends from work because I went up to sit with them a bit, and I was like, God, does nothing, so frustrating. And they kind of think I know about football now. I was like, oh, always takes it up and lose the ball. What are you
all
doing?
you gotta do is find one thing a player does, and you see it all the time.
Yeah, it was good. And they're like, yeah, Tat, we picked up on that too. I'm like, thank you. That's an original thought.
Yeah, take it. I haven't minted it yet on the blockchain, so you can take that thought.
Was this the first time we've seen Tomislav play for us, right?
I was about to say that was his debut. Marcella coming into the squad there, straight in centre back role alongside Kankar. That was an interesting pairing though, because you probably wouldn't expect him to be right into the starting 11 with Russell at right back and Troyer at left back, but effectively it seemed to have worked well. And hey, Steve, we've said it many times at the stadium, like, what is Mejias doing? Why not Margush? Margush has been in since Ruden's been there, and we've actually been doing decently well. Okay, we've still conceded some goals. We've lost a couple. There's another game we're going to get into shortly. But for the most part, I think because Margush has been there, obviously already a season, he sort of knows the players in front of him and what to do and all that sort of stuff there. Is Margush our number one goalkeeper over our input Mejias? And if the answer is yes, was Mejias a wasted visa spot?
Yes, and yes, I think so. Mejias is not Lopa. So Lopa, you could see what he brought to the team. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Mejias, when he played, it's like, yeah, he made a couple good saves, but he was nothing. He wasn't heads and shoulders above Margush. So the whole idea about bringing visa players in, they have to be better than what you can get locally, right? And if you're getting the same or just a little bit better, you might as well give it to a 23-year-old Australian player and give him the experience. You're not losing anything. And the fact that Ruden comes in and says, well, I'll give you 2 games, Mejias, and we lost both. He had a couple poor performances. Like, right, I'm going to give the young kid a go. And Margush hasn't lost his spot, despite Margush, getting chipped and all this other stuff. And But he's obviously doing. Ruben sees a long-term future with Magush, and now that Ruben's got his 2.5-year deal, he's gone, and Magush should probably be number one, unless we get someone like I think Paul Izzo's coming off contract, something like that, like someone a little bit higher stature than Magush. But it's Magush's to lose, and he lost it at the beginning of the season. Now he's taking it back. So,
but did he lose it purely on the fact that an international came into the squad, or was he really just not as good as what Robinson thought he was?
He lost it because Robinson's like, I've got to fix the defense. I'm just going to replace everyone in the defense. That's not really fixing the defense because
didn't work.
Rubbish. But on Marcella, him and Kanka had a great game together. They were reading the play, cutting up passes before they hit the target, and they were just like a step ahead of the attack. Like Sydney just really struggled to break through our defense. And whether that was just they were off their game or we read their game properly, and we had that, that seniority in Marcella now. We always talked about, we're missing that leader now at the back. So ever since Williams left. So I think he's definitely that person in this game anyway. The next game is obviously a different story. But it's interesting. Also, we scored 2 set pieces. We didn't score in open play. So that's still a concern. But normally we concede those set pieces. So the fact that we scored 2 set pieces is a good thing. We haven't scored off headers, corners very often. And Bacchus is a classic, I came through the ranks celebration. I scored in a derby. And how good was it there? It was like, that's pretty good. He loved it.
Just to touch on Bacchus, something I found really strange is Bacchus was actually named our captain for that match. And I was really excited because I was like, this is our baby Bacchus coming in as a captain. It was captain on the lineup that they put up, that the club put up. And then when he came out, he didn't have that captain's band on him. Armband, and Armand did. Yeah. So I am wondering what happened because everybody in the back scenes, we're really excited about him getting the captain's band as well. So
could it be maybe he didn't want it?
Do you think so?
I don't know. Maybe you think it's a derby. Like we've always said, like when you're captain, there's more responsibility on you. And I think because he can be a little bit rash at times. Obviously, he's been sent a couple of times for rash challenges in the box and everything like that, or just on the pitch.
So has Ramos.
Say. Yeah, true. But I mean, we're talking about Bacchus and Ramos, like there's chalk and cheese.
I'm talking about heated captains.
I know. But my whole thing is like maybe he was given a pre-game. I don't know. I'm just speculating, and he thought, no, you know what? It's a derby. I know if I get captain, I'm gonna try and do more than what I probably should, and I'm gonna do something dumb that I probably shouldn't, and I could potentially jeopardize my position on the pitch and get sent or whatever. I'm just thinking, based on his history when it comes to sort of being a little bit rash in there. And maybe they just gave it to the next person in there because Adama's been around for a while. I mean, anyone else on that pitch you could actually see take the captain's armband?
Adama's been the captain the last couple of weeks. Like prior to this game, he was captain.
So maybe they wanted to put it as a kind of special note, and then he thought, no, not a good idea.
Maybe
Nick's got a point. Yeah, I guess. And then
Adama's the captain at the moment. Once the Teresi's somehow been dropped, I don't know. It's weird. So Adama's
the other person not starting that I've been surprised about is Ziggy, unless there's an injury that I don't know about.
I think he's seen Ziggy's like. I think honestly, Steve, we keep saying we need to just stick a microphone in front of us during the game and just hear us talk for a whole 90 minutes. Ziggy is just like last ditch, like clear the ball out. Like we were saying. I think we were talking about it, Steve. Like we need someone senior in the center of the defense, and then you made the point like, okay, yeah, Ziggy is older than the bunch, but is he really a senior player in the sense that he's going to guide you? The guy looks like he's panicking most of the time anyway, so I don't think he's got like the calmest head on him per se. Whereas if you had him alongside a Williams or a Marcella maybe in a senior role, that's maybe where he's probably a little bit better. But when you're telling him, okay, you're the senior player between you two because you're playing with a 20-year-old or whatever, he's gonna try and direct him, but maybe doesn't have what it takes to really sort of like keep it calm in a way. So that's why he
doesn't have that D-line stat in Pez. Means you can organize the defense. He did come on for the last 10 minutes. Rudin did the classic. We're 2-0 up in a derby. I'm going to put every single defender on for the last 10 minutes, which was interesting because I thought, this guy's just going to park the bus. He put on Katrumbus, he put on Ziggy, and like he basically went to a back five. And at first, Yeah, Aquilina came on.
Yeah.
He put everyone on, right?
Aquilina Gordon. Yep.
Carlucci,
Everyone
let's
just went.
give a shout out to Carlucci too. He had a great game. He's another one that came through the academy ranks.
For the ranks, yeah.
Hey man,
He
yellow
almost-
card for time wasting. Shout out for that.
Nice. And he had that little run and almost got Aquilina a goal. But at the time when he started bringing all these defenders, like, oh, this guy's going to park the bus. And then a minute later, I realized, wait a minute. Every other coach in the world would do the exact same thing when you're in a derby, right? You just start putting your defenders on, shutting up shop. Why would you put strikers on to get more goals and just give them minutes when there's a game to be won, right? And then, so I thought that's actually pretty smart because Robinson would never have done that. He would have just put, I've got all these strikers on the bench, put them on, we'll go for more goals, and then you get caught. And you end up
then we lose overrun in the back.
Yeah, so it's actually quite smart. It's like we're winning, we got the game is under control. I'm going to put, and he didn't do straight swaps. He took off midfielders and took off strikers and put defenders on. Right? It's like, well, they're going to be pushing anyway, and we still had chances after that because he just had the young kids up front and just hitting the ball over the top on the counter attack. He actually worked. It was a good decision from a manager at that time, at that stage of the game. So it was pleasing to see after I calmed down from what the hell's he doing? Parking the bus. It was actually quite smart.
Let me ask you this question now. The question that's on all our minds, because when it happened, you're probably thinking that there's no way this is going to be given. The penalty for Nazarene, soft as it was, I thought that actually take a little bit more time looking into it and making a decision than what they actually gave it on the night. Because I'm thinking, there's an arm in there, maybe there's a checking of the legs, but normally something like that it would be like a minute or two checking VAR, looking, going CSI Miami, enhance, looking for like microfibers on the legs, and it just gave it like almost instantly. Were you guys surprised they actually gave it?
Yeah. I think I said it in the group chat, Nick. You're like, oh, was that a pen? I was like, soft, but a pen.
Yeah.
Soft,
but
a pen.
Yeah, because I didn't see it until after. Then when I saw it, I'm just like, that's the penalty that they gave us. Out of all the other things that's gone against us, that is what they gave us.
We get.
We did a lot of pity pens this year, eh? Like we're coming last and you're giving us these shitty pens. We could have used these 3 years ago. But I think it comes down to is a pen and the VAR can't overrule it for an obvious error. So we're the other way around. If he didn't give it, VAR was not going to overrule it for obvious error. So it was a 50-50 thing, right? So he gave it. VAR's like, yeah, there's contact. I can see where you give it. I can't say you're completely wrong, like he did for the Sydney FC shout that was outside the box. And he said, it stands. It's basically a decision upheld. And this happened to us last year. Remember, Nick, when we were watching the radio box a few times, and I think it was a Newcastle game, and we should have got a pen, but he didn't give it. And then we talked to like the ref outside, or we talked to Gregor Rourke and JT after the game.
Yeah, and JT was there. Yeah.
Slater was saying to other people, I remember Slater walking past and basically saying the same thing.
Like,
because he didn't give it, but he didn't give it, so VAR won't overrule it as a complete, clear, and obvious error. But this, I think, is the inverse is true here. He gave it, and it's not an obvious error, so he's just going to stand. So we'll take it.
Yeah. Is it easier to uphold a decision made than to overrule a decision not made to give something? Yeah, got it.
Yeah, it's freaking confusing, but it went in our favor for once. A few of them have this year. Interesting. I don't know why.
That's all right. We're still sitting 10th.
There's a threat. So it's like, just give it to them anyway.
Hey man, give them a penalty. They might lose anyway. They'll capitulate. I mean, it's the Wanderers they're talking about here. Let the opposition score one goal in the second half, and then it's game over. After that, heads drop, and then it's game over. But that didn't happen.
Probably thought that the whole time.
It didn't happen. Well, this is the thing now. Not so much on our front there. We've seen it was a great performance from us. Couple of goals, clean sheet, which is always nice. Scoring in front of the RBB end as well. Seeing Sydney FC fans go home in boiling piss. It's always a fun time out when you beat them. And I think we're still undefeated in the derby. Is that correct? For like 2 years now or something? No, we lost last year.
They beat us last year in May. But that's
1-0.
That's the only win
1-0 or
like
something.
4 years.
Yeah, something like that. Okay, yeah. So that was that one there. But in saying that, you were saying before, Steve, this is Sydney's worst performance, and then they go ahead and they beat Perth like 2-0 or whatever it was, in their game over the weekend. And you're sort of saying to yourself, well, what is it then? Is it Sydney FC maybe thinking that we're going to be pushovers so they don't go as hard, thinking we're going to collapse? Is it us bigging ourselves up for one big game? Or what do you think it comes down to? Because we've seen we can play when we want to, but it's like, shit, we don't want to play every week. We just want to play when we're playing Sydney or Victory.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Yeah, ¿por qué no los dos?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah, I
why
know,
can't
right?
we want to beat them and then like, yeah, go on. Sorry, Stephen.
I think it's the latter. It's we stepped up because the fact. Look at our game against Macarthur a week later, and it's like, what the hell was that? It was flat. Couldn't create anything. For some reason, we can never beat this team. I know they've only been in existence for 1 year. They're a small club. I never heard of them. But for some reason, we can't beat them. So for some reason, yeah, Nick, I think we seem to step up a little bit against the Derby for some reason because we had such a bad. We still got bad stats in the Derby. I think only 7 wins and 13 draws and 13 losses or something. It's not that great. But the last couple of years, we seem to be stepping up a little bit. Maybe it's because of some of the personnel in the team, like some of the Westies have stepped up, and guys like the Bacchus now, and last year was Duke and those sort of guys that don't want to lose that match. But we need to back it up, man. You have a Derby win like that with the crowd that we had. We had a good contingent down in Campbelltown. Like it was a good bay and a half there, or nearly 2 bays, and it was like what was that? It was so disappointing. Couldn't create a chance. I think we had 1 shot on target or something. It was like the same stats that Sydney had against us. It was
it's the one shot was the goal.
Yeah, and I missed it. I didn't even see it because
You did it, Brendan.
it's like once the second goal went in, and we're trying to put the little one down. Like my wife was trying to put him down. We were in Brisbane at the time. I wasn't at home.
Put him to sleep. Put him to sleep.
And not put him down. Put him to sleep. in proper sleep. So once the second goal went in, I took over. I said I'll try and put him to sleep and help out. And then I come out at 93rd minute. It was like 3-1. Like what happened? It's like it was 2-0 when I left. But it's really frustrating. Like they're not that good, but we seem to be worse whenever we need to back results. We just can't back it up.
Sorry, just quickly, Tats. We had more possession, more shots. We created more fouls. We had more shots in the box, more shots out the box. Everything was in our favor, and yet we still couldn't convert anything by 1. And then you're thinking, okay, 1 goal in the 80th minute, cool. Okay, let's get going now. Let's see what we can do here. And then no, we just concede again in like the 8th minute of bloody stoppage time because of the penalty and all that sort of stuff. Sorry, Tats.
No, what I was going to say is I think you've got a point, Nick. Like for some reason we're showing up against our biggest rivals, which is like wonderful. Like we did. We showed up against Victory. We did well against Victory. Showed up against Sydney FC, but it's like I think it comes back down to what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, Stephen, and that we have a problem with mentality and culture, and it's like the only thing we've grasped onto is that these are our 2 biggest rivals, and when we're playing them, all of a sudden we pipe up. But winning 2 games or 3 games in a season means F all if we're going to be 10th, 15 points this far in the. It's like there's just no. It's basically this title. Was it 2-0 up, 3-0, 3-1 back? It's like every time I think we're finally
2-0
kind of
forward,
stepping up
3-1 back.
Yeah, it's just like, but that's it. Like our mentality is stuck for a couple of things, which is great. But it's like there's just I didn't get a chance to see that comment that you just put up, Nick. But it was just about it consists. Yeah, consistency. I think we all want that. Like I think after the Derby win, we're like, all right, let's go. It's like, let's effing go. And nothing. Like, absolutely nothing. I watched back the highlights.
Right?
And they said, like the crowd, Bacchus said, this is what we want. We want you guys here all the time. Blah. And like you said, we had a bay and a half up there. And usually we fire up when we're up that way as well. And it's like, okay, we showed up as well. Why aren't you showing up on the pitch?
It's funny though, because like Macarthur hadn't won in the last 3 games, and then we come to town and it's like, oh, here we go, boys, easy 3 points, let's go. It's that old trope,
right?
Always
beating the droughts, breaking everyone's drought. It's like, come on, man. It's like, I was gonna make a point, but I can't remember what it was. But
sorry,
it's regardless.
Break you.
Oh, dude.
Can we touch on just why you're thinking about it? Can we just fast forward to the end of the game and touch on the penalty? Am I like being super biased into thinking he ran into Margaush?
Well, that's the thing. Like, it depends.
Like Margaush threw himself for the ball, and then he kept running, and then tripped over Margaush, as opposed to Margaush coming. The ball wasn't there. Yeah.
The ball was like almost out.
Well, that's the thing. It's like what constitutes a foul then? If you're both running at 50-50 and you clash into one another, you know, someone is going to be given a decision one way or another. Either it's going to go in favor of the person defending, or it's going to be a 50-50 ergo drop ball, or it's going to go in favor of the person attacking, and it's going to be a foul or a penal on their front there. I don't know. It's one of those things in football where you see it even in just world football as well. Like in the Premier League, for example, Liverpool, I was watching over the weekend, keeper ran out, clattered into Luis Diaz, KO'd him, and he remained on the pitch. It wasn't a penalty. We ended up scoring, but they called it back for a foul. So if that missed, if the ball had not gone into the net, would they have then called it back for a penalty, perhaps? You know what I mean? It's one of these things. Did the ball leave? Is the ball still in play? So what we're talking about just before, Steve, like we get bullshit decisions go for us and the most obvious ones go against us. And then we have something like this go against us and we're thinking to ourselves, is that really, as simple as it could be?
I don't know if it was a bullshit call. The way I saw it, and maybe this is just me playing dumb and not fully getting it, but it was just, it's Margush goes, ball's out. Okay, Margush stops. And then you've got the Macarthur player just keep running, obviously momentum, but then he kind of ran at Margush and trips over Margush. Margush was already stationary at this point. But then I'm just being like, we would have lost the game anyway. What's the point of me arguing? But I was definitely yelling out, so.
But see, like they called offside as well at first. So that was the other thing as well. It's that whole thing of like, okay, is it offside?
They did
Is
call
he
offside,
onside?
true.
He was onside. Okay, so then if he's onside, then we play it as though it's still in play. Okay, if he's onside and it's in play, or then he took him down for a penalty, and let's call the penalty in that case. Like he slid down, he got him with his hands a little bit, but that's the other thing as well. Did the players' momentum, like you're saying, Tats, did the players' momentum take him over, or did they purposely find contact, look for a
because Margush didn't take him down? I know they were going to win the game. I'm just saying Margush didn't actually take him down. He was stationary at this point, and he never mind, I read it. Margush didn't take him down, so he stopped, and then the momentum kind of had the player run and trip over Margush. But whatever, we were going to lose the game anyway. Stephen, you actually got to see the game live, at least up until the first 2 goals. Was it shit? Could you see?
I don't remember these games anymore. I erase them from my memory because they're so.
What could you see a clear, distinct difference between the way we played there and how we were set up to play against Sydney FC?
Seriously, I can't remember the game, I can't remember. Did we lack intensity? I think we did. It just seemed like, why aren't we? I don't know. We had chances, didn't we? And we just couldn't put them away in the first half.
12 shots, just one on target though, but 12 shots. We had more shots.
That lack of striker. We don't have, like I said 20 minutes ago, we don't have anyone scoring from open play. I think that's what's killing us. And I saw a comment today that Rudin apparently said, I haven't seen this presser yet, that he pretty much said that everyone's afraid to shoot, and they're passing.
Why?
They're going for a passing option instead of a shooting option, and we've seen that as well. Like, how many times have I seen it? I've probably said to you guys as well.
4 years, honestly,
you're in the box. Why aren't you shooting? And they're laying it off, and then laying it off, and they're laying it off. And they did it in the derby as well. Like they did that mad little play around the box, but all 3 of you guys could have had a shot, and you're just laying it off to someone else to have a shot, and then he lays it off to someone else, and just shoot. It's like especially against Macarthur, you shoot against these guys. They've been conceding goals, like their defense has been like Swiss cheese for the last few weeks. You got to put these guys under pressure. If you're going to be hesitant, they're just going to hit you in the counter, and they're going to get a goal against us like they did, because we're not very tight at the back either. I don't understand why we have all this possession, all this attacking possession. We're just not doing anything with it. It's really frustrating. Last year, at least we had 5,000 strikers that eventually they'd score. But this year, it seems like we got all these attacking possession. We're not doing anything with it. That final ball, that final pass, when someone decides to shoot, they probably shouldn't have shot. The guy before him should have shot. And it's just lack of consistency, but we're pretty consistent in this all season, I think. It's just, that's been the frustration all year. And so now that Rudin's got his 2.5-year deal, he's clearly seeing who's going to fit his system, who's not. And we're seeing it already from who's being dropped and who's getting minutes. It's pretty clear that where he needs to fix. So Mahias is gone. It's him at a 1-year deal, because if he's not, If he's a 1 year deal, I reckon he'll be gone.
1.5 at the most.
So there's a few players I'm thinking, man, that they're not going to survive, and he needs to buy a number 10. He needs to buy a striker, a couple strikers, and there's some obvious positions where he needs to like fix up because it's just weak. It's funny how we all say on paper we've got an awesome squad, then you see him play for 10 weeks, like, nah, the shit. Like, we need to get that guy. You're cut. Start again.
Steve, this is like ultimate team.
deal.
It's like, man, look at all these mad players, but then when you're trying to link them together, there's no chemistry in the team. That's what
Chemistry,
it's like.
right? Sorry, Taz, was
There's
that
no
1 year?
chemistry.
It's a 1-year deal, but we should play ATB bingo, chemistry, gel, mentality, culture.
Intensity, fight for
excuses.
the team, fight for the
No
jersey.
excuses. Good
passion.
on paper.
Well,
We should do
it's a
that,
1 year
actually.
deal, and it'll probably have a +1 onto it, but it'll be based on performance and the fact he's only scored 4 goals and 3 of them are set pieces. You're on your way out, mate.
Yeah, but
I
that's
think
Steve,
he
that's the
might try
question.
and stay. I think him and his wife quite enjoy Sydney, as with most international players who come and then decide they need to be good all of a sudden.
That's fine.
But like
Just
you're
a
saying,
pain
Steve,
so
that's
much,
the
but another striker.
question. Is it him or is it the team not adapting to his style? Like, what could he do to actually impact the game, for
Well, that's
example?
the coach, not the team, right? It's up to the coach to adapt to his style. So you're going to buy players, they're going to fit your style, or you change the style to fit the players. Why are we buying
Well, I
players
think-
that are not going to fit the style?
Well, every time we bring in a new manager, the season's a write-off anyways. You're never going to see a manager come in halfway through a season and take them all the way to the top and
It
win
was
something.
ineffective with Robertson as well. So we were having the same conversation 4 weeks ago, or 6 weeks ago, whenever it was he got sacked. Before that he just didn't seem to fit it. It seemed like slowly it was coming in a little bit, but again, and now it reverted. Same thing, in and out of injuries. That doesn't help either. Rodwell's been gone for a month, which doesn't help either.
I
in
forgot
terms of
about him.
our midfield. So yeah, you got a bunch of these guys that they've come in for 1 year deals and stuff, but you guys are like in and out with injuries. You're not scoring. You're not doing. So even Rodwell's probably on the brink. I'd love for him to stay if he was fit. He's been great, but like, man, if you're going to be injured every week, you're going to play once a month and once every 6 weeks. If you're going to keep paying you 100K, that's fine. I'll keep you, but you can't ask for more money. You know what I mean? Like, so it's really
Summed up.
But shit fucked on since season 1.
Summed up right there. That's literally the summation of the Wanderers right there. I mean, we have had some great shots, but not enough that we probably would have wanted. Tats, you don't have to disclose information, but like, how in contact are you with like players or management, throughout the week, or do you only see each other during game days? Because I'd be interested to see what the mood is like in the camp at the moment after you've won 2-0 against Sydney FC and then you lose 3-1 to Macarthur FC, and then you've got a game tomorrow against Adelaide, which is a nice little segue to our next little talking point there. Is there any sort of indication as to what the players are like, what management is like at the moment?
No, I really only get to see the players on game day, and it's apart from a really nice like, hi, how are you, and whatever as they're passing by, unless you're Jack Rodwell and you're making fun of my rain day hat. Other than that, it's all just really nice. I do know that that's the thing. Like when I'm there, and like even when things are shared or whatever, I don't feel the negativity. I feel like they approach every game day with like, fresh game day, play the same shit. I don't kind of feel any negative vibes, and I don't see any apart from when I had Margaret yelling at some players who I could see were a bit frustrated about that.
Yeah.
But apart from that, like, I don't really see that kind of negativity amongst the players, and there's good camaraderie amongst them. So I wish I had like juicier goss, but I don't get to see them throughout the week, and I don't know what happens during the weekend training and stuff like that. So I can't. I wish I could, but I've got no other information apart from them being really nice on game day.
Yeah, interested to see what that would be like, because you can't imagine it's going to be a fun place when you're winning one week and then losing the next. And it's not like, well, we were a bit average. We were lucky to win that game, and, we were unlucky this one. It's like, no, you had enough momentum. You literally started with the same 11 players that you won the derby against Sydney FC, and you're going into this game a whole week later, and you're telling me that you can't perform against a team who hasn't won in 3 matches? Like, something's
Do
up
you
there, man.
think it's a not a momentum thing, but a kind of lose gas thing? Like, kind of, when a team hasn't won a premiership or hasn't won a Champions League in a really long time, and then they finally do it, and then they're just like super shit the next season.
Be.
So that,
Could
but
be.
on a very, very mini scale, is that they really, really needed this win and needed to get a win, and they got it, and kind of got the urge to win out of their system, which is bloody ridiculous for a football team that needs to perform week in and week out. But all I'm saying is, maybe do you think they felt a little bit of pressures off, especially, I don't know what the stats are about what our games are like post derby, because there's so much. No, think about it. Like, think about all our matches in the game right after a derby win or right after a derby where you've got so much built up, like
I'm with you.
intensity and stuff, and then you kind of just like deflate post that game. So then the game after, you just don't have that much fire in you. Again, super ridiculous for when it's your job to be good all the time and you decide to like. But I'm talking mentally. I'm talking mentally.
We've been deflated since about November 2014. So,
well, that was a huge fucking win. Sorry.
I'll take that any day of the week, man. Give me that feeling back, inject it into my veins.
In all fairness, we did get to the grand final in 15-16, but even
It's
then,
true.
our performances weren't the greatest. We had people complaining, "Oh, we're not that good," but dude, we're second. What are you complaining
Yes.
about? We somehow
Win.
got to that grand final.
Just
to
win.
be top 4.
Yeah,
Just
to be
what's top
six.
4? In Australia, I don't know what top 6 is in Australia, so I don't know about that.
It's getting further and further away
since-
from us as well.
Here you
So
go. Oh,
Oh.
here we go. There
yeah,
you
that's
go.
it's
Yeah,
just-
thanks, Ozzy.
And you know
Yeah,
what?
but
We
also,
are playing
again, that's never happened. Like, that's like when it was good.
yeah. Well,
that was the Joey
that's
Gibbs and
American
Cressinger era.
yeah, that's
Joey
I
Gibbs
was
Cressinger
there for
era.
that game. I missed that game.
Well, go on, Steve.
No, I was going to say you could do your segue to Adelaide, first leg away.
First leg away,
yeah.
because we're playing him again, like what, the week after or something.
Sunday.
nonsense like that.
On
Yes,
Sunday.
it's so stupid. Like, it's so dumb.
I'm looking at my calendar because I got the Ultimate A League calendar, right? Because those guys are awesome. Like, if you ever want to subscribe to a calendar for Google iOS, use Ultimate A League. Yeah, they update the fixtures all the time. And I'm like, oh, we got a game on Sunday, and it says Adelaide. I go, I don't know, aren't we playing Adelaide tomorrow? I went into an app. I went to FootMob to see, and like, we are playing them back to back. I'm like, what is this? Do we get away goals here, or like, what's going on? Like, I don't
So
get it.
just don't lose in Adelaide and bring it back to Combank and then win it there. That's the
right.
plan.
We'll
That's the plan.
We'll get them on the second leg.
That's okay. But you know what? I have to say, Adelaide have a knack of winning games in the last 5 or 10 minutes of matches. If you've seen some of their stats against Newcastle, they came back to win late in that game. I believe as well. Mohamed Toure scored a goal there. Against the Mariners, they won 2-1 again last minute of the game. They've come back a few times in some other matches. They are quite dangerous, and if there's one thing we know the Wanderers can do is lapse concentration quite easily in the last 10 minutes, provided Rudin hasn't subbed on another 3 or 4 defenders for fresh legs. So we are playing Adelaide. They've won their last 3 matches. They're on a bit of form here. Marginally, though, every game that they've won in the last 3 has been by 2-1. So they can score, but they can also concede. Steve, what are you expecting us to take to Adelaide tomorrow or tonight from whenever you may be listening to this?
I don't know which Jekyll, which Hyde are we getting? Like, this team is
Jekyll is the good, Hyde is the bad.
Yeah, so which one are we getting? Yeah, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Where's Adelaide on the table? I don't know. I'm looking. 3rd. There you go.
They are 3rd. Yeah, they're up there.
And we're 10th.
Yep.
That's good.
And you see Adelaide. You think Adelaide will be favourites at home?
Of course.
They get a decent crowd. I don't know what they're going to get in a midweek. They're usually better on this Friday night. But you can't sleep in the last 5 minutes. That's for sure, because they're going to score against you. We have to back up from the poor performance on the weekend. I know it's a midweek game and we have to travel and all that sort of stuff, but smash and grab, that's what we need to do, and then bring it home for the second leg and win at home on 7 o'clock on a Sunday night. So it's like none of those guys at the derby will show up for this game because it's 7 o'clock on a Sunday. They got school the next day, so can't come.
7:05.
7:05, even later. That means the game finishes after 9 o'clock. Forget it. You'd be lucky to get 5,000. But you hope people start showing up. Man, you want to smash and grab. I think that's all we can hope for. Unless we just somehow just play this amazing football and just dominate, but I can't see it happening. I think Adelaide's just at the moment.
I mean, Ridden has to be aware of those stats and has to be aware that we can't afford to like drop off at the end. I was just gonna say how the turns have tabled, because that used to be us the first. that used to be us the first couple of seasons. It was like the stats are ridiculous. Like 76% of our games or something were won in the last 10 minutes. Like that's how we used to play, because we had fitness on our side and we just kind of kept going. So that's a depressing stat to hear about our opponent now. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's I don't know if they're gonna try and I don't know if they're gonna try and take it a little bit easier for this and make it more important to win that home leg.
We need 6 points.
I don't know. Away goals counted here?
They're surely. We're on 15 points. They're on 27, right? I know they've had 2 extra games than us, but that's like 5 games. 5 wins ahead of us, 4 wins ahead of us, right?
And look, they got a decent squad as well, man.
We need to get 6 points in the next 2 games. Simple as that. It's top 6 is
right.
what
We need 6 points against Adelaide back to back. That's what we need.
That's what I'm saying. We're falling behind. I know we've got games in hand, but Sydney FC is on 21 points. They're 6th place, and we're on 15. We're 6 points behind 6th place, and we're 2 games in hand. So we can actually still jump into 6. Somehow we can still get to the 6, but if you don't start getting these points back to back, it's just going to slip away. It's going to be one of those seasons again. We're running out of time.
Benjamin's got a good comment. He says these things consistency comes from discipline and desire. Replicating that works not just tactically but also mentally. So maybe that goes towards what Tats was saying before. Maybe they're puffed out, but not physically. Maybe mentally in their minds. Maybe they just all gassed out and that they don't know what to do now.
I mean, it's also hard to discipline a team when your coach or management keeps changing as well. It's like hard to keep that in line. You know what I mean? I know we talk about it all the time. It's like blah, ha, ha. We always talk about gelling and working, but it's the reality of the fact that every time we get a new coach, new respect needs to be built, a new kind of, discipline. And I know obviously he's a disciplinary, and I do know that what I can say is when he first came in at his first coaching session, in comparison to what Carl Robinson's were, I can tell you that the players were actually really excited because they were being given direction and some sort of structure. Whether it was him like go hard, and same with him gassed out, or they got over it in the first few weeks. I don't know, to be honest. I don't know the answers anymore for this team. But,
it's weird though when you look at their stats against Newcastle, for example, when they played last, they had 2 shots on target that whole game, and those 2 shots were 2 goals that they needed to win 2-1, and that was a come from behind win as well. They scored first couple of minutes and then they scored late in that game there. So that's why I say, like, they're not just in the sense they're good at what they do, they're also clinical bastards as well, because they can, get most amount of effort. Most output with the most minimal amount of effort. So against the Perth Glory, a little bit different on this front here. More shots, half on target alongside Perth. So depending on where they are, maybe away, they feel like being a little bit more expressive, a little bit more open. At home, they could be a little bit more reserved, perhaps. I think we're going to be reserved. I think we're going to be in there trying to just contain, hold pressure, and try and spring a counterattack. But do we have any players that can actually execute a counterattack properly?
We've
got speed and then nothing.
Well, if you've got Kajiro and, Petrados trying to run and, get on the end of what should be a simple tap-in, maybe. Apart from that, unless he changes it up and he goes with the beanie and he does look for counterattacks. But I don't think Adelaide play that high line anyways, and they've got some decent players themselves.
I'm trying to find the stats of what their away form is and the home form. But Ultimate A-League's
For
not
who?
playing. For Adelaide.
Okay. Adelaide. Still one
United.
stadium I
Yeah.
have not been
I
to.
think you're right, Nick. I think we're going to be a bit more reserved and not so gung ho about this game, just because
Oh,
we're going to be.
You don't want to lose 2 in a row, right? We're going to go there.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's going to
I'm
be
just
that.
we're going
thinking
to play
like
safe.
against Melbourne City, we were expecting them to come shellac us, and we were 2-0 up ahead at one point, like just from us like playing that sort of attacking style. And we sort of maybe sprung a bit of a surprise on them. Whereas I don't think Adelaide is going to be the same sort of team that you can do that to. I think they're going to be a little bit more different. They're probably going to be sitting to defend, because a team like Melbourne City, you expect them to come at you because they've got the attacking prowess. I mean, Barangay, they've also got what's his name, McLaren, Bilecki, and Naboo. So shit, they're not going to be attackers defending, they're going to be attackers attacking. Maybe Adelaide's a little bit more different. Maybe they're going to sit back a little bit. Whereas for us, we don't know what the hell we're going to do. Ruda might say go out and attack for the first 10 minutes and we concede 2 goals on the counter attack. And then what? Your whole game plan's up shit creek after that.
Yeah. My question is, he's going to keep the same 11 from what he has.
Again, third game in a row. That's brave.
So, but who comes in and who comes out? Like, it's Charisi. What's happening there? Because he was going really well last month, and now somehow he hasn't played for 2 weeks. So that's really strange. And you know what? I think we're actually missing him, because we're just missing that guy. He gets the ball a lot, and he actually makes things happen. At the moment, who's that falling to? Is Ogarkovic trying to create something? Is Bacchus trying to create something? I just feel like we're missing something, and that guy that link-up play pretty much. So if anyone had to come in, I think he had to come in. The back line, I feel like you're not going to change too much there, right? Like it'll be Marcello and Kankar. You think Kankar keeps his spot unless Katrubas comes in, because Kankar did gift. Oh, that's right. He gave a nice assist in the Macarthur game
For Macarthur, yeah.
Yeah. So,
which sucked because he's been doing so well. So when I watched back the game, I was like, "Oh, buddy."
I wouldn't. You wouldn't crucify the guy. You wouldn't like take him out of the squad because of that, right? So you think he keeps his spot. So it's just the midfield. Rodwell, like West Indian football saying, Rodwell, maybe he's back and Charisi back. You got these sort of guys, but then you work out who's in your midfield. Like Bacchus says that he gets dropped. And does Najjarine keep his spot? All these sort of questions that we need to, someone needs to answer.
He brought on Antonis after this.
Yeah, so tennis. Yeah, does he start? Like we've got so many midfielders. The front line as well. We've got to figure out a combination that works and creates goals. That's the biggest thing. So I don't think we'll keep the same 11. I think we should see a future.
Surely not.
But he's also he'll be thinking about the second leg too. So he's not going to play the same 11 for first leg and second leg. You are going to make a change, right? So the ones that don't travel will be playing probably Sunday. Like we've seen that in the past, right? So you might not even take some players and go, "Oh, you stay here," and you be prepared for Sunday.
You know what?
See that.
You might be thinking, depending on the starting lineup, I've noticed this sometimes with certain teams and whatever, you can sort of sense the way they're going to play based on their starting lineup. If they've got more defensive players in their starting lineup, you can probably say to yourself, okay, they're going to be a little bit more defensive. Vice versa, if they've got a bit more attackers. That doesn't not necessarily mean it always happens. Sometimes the defensive players have a bit more responsibility to stop an attack, but they also been given a bit of a free rein to, give a ball forward or something. On the flip side, attackers maybe looking to defend a little bit and then spring a counter attack on the other front there. But if you're looking at a back line of pure defense, a defensive midfield, and like 1 or 2 attackers up front, I think you could probably say to yourself, yeah, we're looking to just, see this one out and then, just not lose, like what Steve was saying before. Can't afford to lose. You lose this game here and effectively you lose against them again on Sunday. And I think that's your top 6 done. Like the last 3 or 4 games, we should have taken maximum points from all of them.
But also, you lose this game and you cut down the 5,000 that were going to show up on Sunday to 3,000.
Yep, less and less.
And
that's a good point, actually.
Yeah, and then you got mentality again. It's like playing in an empty stadium is not fun either.
No.
Yeah.
Well, 7 o'clock is a late kickoff because the game does. I was
It
joking.
is for a
before.
Sunday, yeah.
Sunday.
It does. Like even
Yeah.
the midweek games, we had midweek game that was like 7:30 or something kickoff last week, or whatever it was.
We had like 7:45 ones or whatever. they
midweek.
were.
Like anyone
Mm.
with a kid that goes to primary school is not going to that game. It's simple as
Yeah,
that.
I mean, again, these are all just trying to squeeze things in.
Yeah,
I
I get that.
I
I get
understand, like
But
that they're
it's-
trying
it's
to do as
killing
much
the
as they
crowd.
can. Yeah.
It's killing the
Well,
crowds,
speaking of
'cause-
squeezing things in, we've squeezed in a decent hour when it comes to talking about two good games, a good derby win and then a bad rivalry. If you see the distinction on there, derby and rivalry. And now we play Adelaide twice in the space of 4 days. So that's going to be fun. So you'll be talking about Adelaide times 2 in the next pod. And amongst all this excitement and what's what I'm looking for? I don't know. Dire circumstances, we forgot to mention that there is also a Sydney Super Cup between Western Sydney Wanderers, Sydney FC, Celtic, and
Rangers.
So that's
And we take on the
fun.
Rangers.
I want to see an Old Firm derby in Sydney. I want to see a brand new SFS built and then just torn to shreds after one game.
It's not going to be.
Did you see how they've put the two bays next to each other?
Yeah,
what?
that's
The
so
Rangers and the
stupid. Yeah, haven't you
Celtics
seen it,
base?
Steve? Oh my days.
I saw
I
the
mean,
fans. I saw the fans in Scotland putting up signs saying, "What the hell is this shit?" Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
friendlies.
but they're also
What?
so
They put the
they're
base
just
in.
yeah.
It goes to show, like,
Two
these
bays
people
next to
do
each
not
other.
understand football culture. They do not understand. You
know
don't put
nothing about
rivalries together.
football.
This isn't NRL fans and cricket fans and whatever. You're shit. You're shit. A bit of a rib. Yeah, Celtic and Rangers fans, they won't make it to the stadium. They'll be left outside, mate.
Is that going to happen when we have our derby, like a normal derby at the new SFS? They're going to put Derby B and Cove together.
Yeah, why not? Why
Base
not?
together for
Base
$400 tickets.
together.
Wow. Really?
That's why I've got two like really good friends of mine who are Scottish, and one's a Rangers fan, one's a Celtics fan. One of them hit me up today. He's like, "So you getting us tickets?" I'm like, I don't know, maybe. I don't know, but $400 a
Can't
pop?
tell you.
No
It's
way.
going to be depleted squads. It's a month out from the World Cup or during
It's
the
a
World Cup.
Wednesday
When's the World
night.
Cup?
It's a Wednesday night as well.
Nah, it's when does the World Cup start?
Oh,
Start of December.
Sunday. Sorry.
Yeah, either way, it's going to be.
We're
depleted
playing.
squad.
We're playing Rangers on the 16th apparently.
And
Yeah,
I don't know what's
16th of
happening with the A-League
November.
next year. Are we stopping the A-League for 4 weeks when the World Cup is on? Like, what's happening? Do we even know?
Oh wait, here we go. No, Celtic and Rangers are playing against one another. My bad. I should have read all these beforehand. On the 20th of November, first time the two teams have ever played outside of Scotland. So that's going to be interesting. I wonder what Scottish football fans are thinking about this.
Did you not see their signs a day later after this was announced?
I haven't
They'll
paid
put-
attention to social
Yeah,
media.
but
mate.
the ones-
signs
the
everywhere
ones
saying
here are
like, "What's this
excited.
thing?" It's
The ones here, like my friends here, are excited. At least I'll tell you that much.
I like this. If the plans for the SFS, the RBB is going to be next or above the Sydney FC family.
Wow.
Sweet.
If only. If only. Thank you for the kind words, Benjamin. Fingers crossed for tomorrow and Sunday. Yes, indeed. We need all the luck we can. Stephen and Tats, any final words before we wrap things up?
No.
Rest in peace to the bad guy, Scott Hall.
Oh, man. That's right. I forgot. 63 years old. RIP Razor Ramon. One of the greatest ever wrestlers, sports entertainers in the world, gave us Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, the famous Invasion storyline, crossing over from WWF to WCW. Steve and I can talk for another 10 hours about this sort of stuff, but we're not going to because we have things to do. But in saying that, that's just like, I don't know what's going on right now. Yeah, we need now we just need Kevin Nash
Yeah,
next
I
to
watched
us. and then
Seinfeld
Hulk
for you two, and there have been 0 Seinfeld references in the last 2
We go,
seasons. of
we go
ATBX.
like
The
wrestling South
signals,
Park
Tats,
into-
the signals. You can look at the
I'll get
signals,
there.
Tats. Anyways, we're out for
Alright.
this one. Peace out. Thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you.
Bye, guys.